Welcome, everyone, to the One More Game podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, a.k.a. Darce, and with me is the California Thirst Quencher, Pete Leja. Pete, how you doing, man?
I'm needing to quench some thirst, man. I don't know if you know what the weather... I hope the weather's been okay by you, but the last 3 or 4 days, it has been in the hundos, and it is continuing to be in the hundos over here until, like, next Friday.
Oof.
I'll give you a quick update on the temperature as of right meow. It was like 110 on Tuesday at my house. It is currently 99 and it feels like 104. So that's to give you a sentiment of where we're at right now. We are barbecuing for Labor Day weekend, as it were.
So you came to the podcast for video game news, but listeners and viewers, you didn't know that we actually hired a meteorologist, and you're learning a little bit about him right here on the podcast. That is very unfortunate, of course.
I learned under some great meteorologists, Brian Inman, Rich Kane, Whitney Williams. So we had quite a few.
Yeah,
I've had quite a bit of experience of meteorology, as it were,
Yeah, we've had some. I've had some great ones over the course of our career. Shout outs to all the ones that you named, as well as shout out to Dan Breeden here, where I worked for a little bit as well. But yeah, that sucks for you. Thankfully, this time around, you have AC, and that's working for you.
Oh God, yeah. I would tell you right now, I wouldn't be on this podcast if there was no AC, because I wouldn't be in my house. I would be somewhere else.
Yeah,
it is 100 degrees.
Yeah, totally understand it. But obviously,
unless you're okay with doing like a phone interview or something, that's about it.
Well, we might have to, because you'd probably be laying naked out there trying to stay cool.
Yeah, do it. Be the thirst quencher and all that. You wouldn't want all the women, all the hotties. Getting a look at me.
We can't have that on the podcast. All right, there's too much Pete loving that we gotta hide. But
yeah, you get way more than enough just like seeing me in person as it is now that we actually have video recordings instead of just vocal recordings.
This is why we have to have us separated by states. It's just too much attraction. If it wasn't for this separation of states, we wouldn't even get through a podcast. But everybody,
well, that's why you got married, right?
Exactly.
That's why you got married, right?
Exactly.
Anyway.
But that's why I want to just say, of course, for here, it's been hot. It's been hotter than it normally is around this time, or at least what it had been in recent weeks. But it's obviously been nowhere near like it is for you. Like today, to give perspective, today here it's only 84 degrees, but as you know, Midwest, right, heat index is a little bit higher and stuff. But so it's been really hot for Zyra, trying to go on walks. She's been having to take a lot of breaks, like underneath trees and shades during our walks, and I, of course, will join her under the shade when she finally stops, but it has not been as bad as you. So hopefully, of course, you stay cool and you get a reprieve here, in the near future. Because as always, right, weather can change, and so hopefully there's a change in the weather pattern, and the front of the weather pattern changes for you. See, we learned some meteorology things here on the podcast. But everybody, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your listen, and I hope you enjoy your stay. If this is the first time you're to the podcast, thank you all for tuning into here to the podcast. This is a podcast centered around making sure you're informed about all the video game news happening around the world, whether it's Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, or PC. If there's news that you need to know about, we'll make sure that you know about it. When you're listening to this on your podcast service, make sure you hit the subscribe button or the follow button, depending on what your service offers. And if your podcast service allows reviews, please leave a 5-star review and tell everyone why you love the One More Game podcast, because we really enjoy bringing this to you each and every Friday. If you'd like to be part of the show by asking a question or suggesting a topic for discussion, head on over to pressstartnews.net/onemoregame and fill out the submission form, and your submission could be used on the next episode. Or you could join us over here when we record it live over on youtube.com/pressstart28, and we will reference it as it comes up during the show. But if this is your first time to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your listen, and I hope you enjoy your stay. But if you are returning, you already know what it is. We start off every single podcast talking about what we've been playing lately. So, Pete, what have you been playing lately?
So I haven't done anything new. I've been playing the same 2 games as I was last week or so while I was prepping for the new stuff, but they are new updates for the games technically. I talked about a little bit about Genshin Impact 3.0. 3.1 is coming down the pipe a little bit shortly as well. That's been a lot of fun. Traveling through the jungle, the exploration aspect, still a blast. Still enjoying that. And then yesterday, Magic Arena dropped a new set, Dominaria United. It's a throwback to early Magic. The first 10 years of sets, I believe it is, were all set in what they call the world or plane or whatever you want to call it of Dominaria, and it's being invaded by this group called the Phyrexians, which are basically like the Borg, although more religious focused. I guess I would say. There's like 5 different sects, one for each color of white, blue, green, black, and red, and each of them kind of like have their own thing, but they all focused on what they call completing uh, uh, all other species into basically robots. So
Hmm.
I know a lot of my friends are fans of the lore. They are rooting for the Phyrexians to win. I assume they're not going to, because that kind of is the end of the story. One of the cooler things this time around is the Planeswalkers, who are like the main characters of the story. They're like the major ones because they're the most powerful characters, due to the fact that they can, partially due to the fact anyway, that they can planeswalk, which is, they call their worlds planes. So if you ever played Kingdom Hearts, how you can like travel on the gummy ship to different worlds, it's kind of like that. Only they use their magic to do it. They can just teleport from one world to the next, basically. So they have a lot more power than like the average person. But now, like, planeswalkers are being what they call completed, turned into robots, which has not happened before the sets, or not the last couple of sets. So that's a new interesting wrinkle to it. I've been playing a lot of the limited format, draft and sealed. I have not really played the constructed format. But they also had a rotation, so a bunch of cards left, which is a big deal because the power level changes. That what's important and what matters changes in the context of the format, because the best cards, a lot of them are gone now, so the new best cards got to come up and take their place. So it's been real fun exploring. I've had a lot of blast in both of those so far, and that's been where my angles been at. But they're looking at it. I know this is a tease, and I know this is jumping ahead, but looking at our upcoming releases, I already downloaded a couple of demos off of Steam for some of that. There's a lot of interesting promos that I was looking at when I was looking through it and previews and all that. So that was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to trying that for next week.
Look at that, a little bit of sprinkling the tease up for upcoming releases, as you say. And I gotta just say, personally, I'm happy to hear you having so much fun back with Magic, because I remember the episode where you were like, I uninstalled this thing, I'm tired of it, I'm not wanting to play it anymore. And then you like reinstalled it for an episode, then uninstalled it again, and like now you're back to it. And you seem a little bit chipper here on the podcast. Maybe the Magic is coming back into you, bringing the spark back to your life. Yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
Oh man, double whammy there.
Hell
I don't even know if
yeah.
you did that second one intentionally.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
We're good.
For people who don't know, the spark was also a pun, because when you're a planeswalker, or the first time you planeswalk, it's called unlocking your spark or igniting your spark. It's the planeswalker spark, for the people that don't know the Magic lore. So
I know very little. So like this, I couldn't
the
go
fact
any
you knew
further.
that, I was surprised. That's why I was just like, wow, was that intentional? I did not know you knew that part. That's
Very
pretty impressive.
little parts, but that's all I can do.
That's
You
good.
ask me
Hey,
any
man,
more
kudos.
puns, I'm not going to be able to bring them out.
Kudos, man. Go nuts.
um,
How about you? What have you been doing?
For myself, honestly, I have not been playing a whole lot of games this week. I've had a lot of things go on. So basically, the only things that I really played is, first, I want to shout out, I ran my first DM-led one-shot in D&D this week, which was a lot of fun, and I was like super nervous about it, and I was like, honestly didn't have a ton of time to prepare because it kind of just got thrusted on me last minute. So I was just like, all right, well, never DM'd
And you're
before.
already busy moving and everything and all that. Yeah.
So
man, that's a lot.
so I did that, and it actually went fairly well. So I'm happy with that. I also played a little bit of Undernaut's Labyrinth of Yomi, as we talked about before. Haven't gotten like terribly farther than what I was last, but of course I've gotten further in the dungeon, so to speak. I just haven't came across the next boss. So like I've still having a lot of fun with that, still doing the things that are inside that game. So I do enjoy that aspect. But the only other thing that I've done besides, of course, playing some Last Remnants was I watched my wife play Rune Factory 5. So I rented Rune Factory 5 for her, and she's enjoying it to the point that we might end up, of course, buying it and keeping it from GameFly. But Rune Factory 5 is I think a good game from what I've gathered so far. I've never played the Rune Factory games, but I've always been interested in them with their like farming simulation, but also like JRPG component to it of going around fighting monsters, fighting bosses and stuff. And I know like when Rune Factory 5 first came out for the Switch, one, it was a graphical improvement because they went to 3D models for these characters, whereas before, like, they were technically 3D models, but they were all made for, like, handheld or previous systems. This one is definitely a much graphical improvement compared to the past. However, it got, like, bad reviews because the performance had been rough on the Switch. They must have made some updates since then, because at least what we're playing, she's came across, of course, some performance issues, but nothing that's been jarring or making us want to like stop playing it. And she's having a lot of blast with it. I enjoyed watching her play from that aspect and seeing how it evolves. I know that it's currently out for PC, which also a lot of people, of course, have said it's much better on PC because of the performance increases and things. So if you're maybe don't want to play it on the Switch because of the slight performance issues, go pick it up on PC. It's a ton of fun in that aspect if you like, again, the farming simulation aspect, but you also want to have that RPG aspect to it. But I bring it up because I was, again, just watching it. What I'm excited for, it's not on our upcoming releases right now, but it is an upcoming release, is watching her play Rune Factory 5 has made me even more excited for Harvestella coming from Square Enix, which is basically Rune Factory from Square Enix, and like from pictures and stuff, it's a little bit more polished. I don't have it in our rundown, but a 30-minute demo did come out, like showcase, I should say, not demo, like you can't go play it, but a showcase from Square Enix about Harvestella. I haven't watched it myself, but I've seen a lot of really good reception around that 30-minute showcase, and it's also supposed to be at TGS, the Tokyo Game Show, in a week and a half, I should say, 2 weeks, I think it is. But that's a cool aspect too. So like watching her play that has made me really excited for Harvestella. So yeah, just wanted to shout out kind of those things, and that's kind of all it's been. Well, hopefully I'll get to play a little bit more games this week, but of course the move and closing is ever so closely, and so who knows? Yeah, basically, let me just put it that way.
You got a lot on your plate, so yeah, we'll see when you get there. I'll try to pick up some of the slack, even though I didn't the last month, I guess, technically.
You're doing just fine. You're bringing us these different aspects of Magic the Gathering and Genshin Impact that a lot of people maybe didn't know about. So there you go. Brownie points to you. Anyways, everybody, we've been talking about what we've been playing lately for quite a bit. Let's get to our catalog because we have quite the list for this one. We have Halo announcing the release date for Forge Mode, but canceling another feature. Phil Spencer reconfirms something that he's already said before. Next, Assassin's Creed has been confirmed by Ubisoft, and we'll get details next week. Sony and Tencent buy shares into a developer, and we have news around the Xbox Game Pass family plan that has been rumored for quite a bit. And let's get to our main catalog, and that is, of course, coming from Halo. As I said, it is Halo Infinite's Forge Mode release date has been confirmed, but a feature has been canceled. This is an article coming from Ryan Leston over at IGN, and it goes as follows. Halo Infinite is finally getting Forge Mode, launching on November 8th, and the full release of online campaign co-op will now arrive on the same day, but sadly, split-screen co-op has been canceled entirely. In a new update, developer 343 Industries announced details of its winter update coming on November 8th, which comes with some long-awaited modes. Forge Mode will allow Halo Infinite fans to essentially essentially create their own content, building new maps with a sophisticated editor, sharing them among the community. Arriving as a beta, we're still not entirely sure on what's included in the features, although a leak has looked impressive. But 343 Industries is also launching 2 new multiplayer maps on November 8th, which will showcase exactly what Forge can do, as they were made entirely in Forge mode. The winter update also sees the full version of online campaign co-op finally rolling out to all players, allowing you to team up with your buddies and tackle Halo Infinite's campaign together. Expect to find new achievements, cross-platform support, mission replay, and shared progression. And after several days and a beta, it's been several delays, and a beta, it's been a long time coming. However, there's the bad news for fans of couch co-op. The local split-screen co-op mode has now been canceled, and it's a blow to those who have been waiting since launch for the old school feature, but it's seemingly a matter of priorities. Quote, in order to improve and accelerate ongoing live service development and to better address player feedback and quality of life updates, we have reallocated studio resources and are no longer working on local campaign split screen co-op, said 343 Industries. Along with the new updates, of course, there will be some different things when it comes to the battle pass, and there's also going to be a new game mode called Covert One Flag, which features asymmetrical loadouts and round-based gameplay just to mix it up. And of course, from this means that this season 3 has been delayed from it as well. It will not come out now till March, where there will be some new maps for arena and big team battles, new weapons, new equipment, and a new battle pass. So, Pete, let me ask you kind of your takeaways, the goods, the bads. How did you feel reading this decision essentially from 343 Industries?
It seemed like, they finally are getting back on track. This is 4-6 months late, something like that, as opposed to the thing that they were supposed to be doing. Some of the updates they were supposed to have, they're months and months behind. So it seems like they're finally possibly starting to get back on their feet. So that part's good. Missing the co-op is kind of a bummer, man. I'm not gonna lie. The split screen co-op, that's like an old school RIP couch co-op, man. I remember playing with a bunch of my buddies when back in like 01, 02, 03, just getting a couple of Xboxes brought over, even as late as like, the late double aughts and then 2010s and stuff like that. I was doing that kind of stuff, and it'd be fun to just like on a Saturday night or just Saturday all day, just get a couple of your buddies over, get a couple of the Xboxes and just split screen and play against each other or whatever. Man, that's, I mean, I understand it's like an older format and it's probably like out there. It almost assuredly has a much smaller fan base than a lot of the other stuff they're getting. And I guess if like something's got to get cut for them to have enough developers and enough time to get rid of all the stuff like the quality of life updates they're talking about, address the player feedback that they were mentioning, and to get to like Forge mode finally up and running. Because I assume it's I'm sure it had to be done, but man, I am super disappointed in that's going to go around. But all in all, like, finally about time they're finally getting their feet under. Like I said, it's just they've had a lot of issues. Moral of the story of this whole Halo Infinite is just don't rush a game out just because you want a surprise Battlefield video game, I guess. Like they Battlefield blames how Halo jumped them and surprised them, but just don't push a game out that's like super unfinished. Especially like, I know we're crawling out of COVID, but it still needs to be said, there's still things that have been that needed to be adjusted. A lot of the stuff was developed probably when not all the developers were able to come in. They were having to do some of the stuff from home. You should have just take more time to do some of this extra stuff until like to make sure all the everything is in its proper place. Everything's ready to go, especially something as popular like Forge mode. Like, I mean, it's not obviously not Halo, but like I remember when I was playing StarCraft as a kid, like one of the funnest things I had when playing online was just playing like the pre-made maps from like other people that were like going through the story of like a fake Dragon Ball Z where you play like all like the little, you'd be a Zergling would be Goku, or like in like a Hydralisk could be Vegeta and stuff like that. Like all that stuff would be was awesome. Like just like I was never like big on making the levels, but playing other people's levels was always a lot of fun. And I know there's like a lot of people that just love just being creative and making up random stupid things like, hey, figure out how to pile all these vehicles on top of each other to get to the finish line or whatever, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
nonsense, or even just fun levels in general. And it's really a surprise that they haven't nailed this down. But it looks like if the leak is accurate, that's going to be that's going to be a big hit. So hopefully they nail that one down at least.
Yeah, I definitely was like, okay, well, at least it's good that Forge mode is coming out, because obviously this continued to get delayed and has been, almost feels like, of course, delayed into infinity. But obviously now we have a release date. November 8th is when the Forge mode beta is coming out for it. But I want to just kind of say some statements that I saw on Twitter. Now, granted, I didn't save the tweets or anything, but I do remember what they said, because I've seen a lot of back and forth when it comes to this whole split screen co-op aspect. And, some people being like, who cares, basically. Similarly, right, there's online co-op aspects, so you still can play online co-op. So, like, I've seen a lot of it, but there was one tweet that really stood out to me, and then there's a couple of other tweets that I want to say. But the first one was a person said, I hate, like, basically, another example of people saying who cares because it's a mode that doesn't impact them. But there are people that this impacts. And, they gave a lot of great examples, which are things that I will be honest, I would not have thought of if it wasn't for this tweet, which is, what about parents who want to play with their kids? They're split screen co-op, couch co-op allows you to have that experience, as you just said, as a kid, right, that you had with your friends. Well, the parent and a child could have done it. Now they can't do it. Or what about if you have a buddy who lives close to you that did exactly that same thing, and you want to have that experience again? Because there's a different experience, as you know, from doing it, of being in the same room playing that campaign together versus being in different houses playing online. So like there are differences, there are ways to work around it, right? Like bring your Xbox over or whatever, and you can hook up two TVs and do it. But there are people that are impacted by this. And the other thing that is important to note is Halo, or 343 Industries, saying in numerous interviews before this happened that split screen co-op will always be a part of Halo. Like, that was literally commented several times, and now it's not. And so it's one of those things that some other people said is like, don't say what you can't cash out, which, don't cash a check you can't back up. And that's the thing that's like the worst part about it, is like, I think if they never said anything like that beforehand, a lot of people would just be exactly kind of as you said, is like, it's the passing of the time. Somebody's got to, at some point, yes, it's got to get the chopping block as you're trying to get this game back to it. But it's one of those things, like you kept reiterating that it's coming, and now you finally have to admit it's not coming. And you probably should have been a little more forthright either earlier, or just, again, not have said much about guaranteeing that this is coming. So I think it's tough. There's a good, again, there's pros and cons to it. I know the people that have accused me and still accuse me of being a fanboy may not be happy with what I'm saying here, but I'm just being realistic on what I saw on Twitter when it comes to people's reactions to this news. Because for myself, right, this doesn't impact me. I don't really play Halo Infinite as it is right now. It came out in a not very great state, so I'm one of those people that, because it didn't capture me at first, it's just continued to sit there. I always say at some point maybe I'll go back to it, but I'm not. And this is one of those things where it's like, it doesn't impact me. But I can imagine for the people that really want to play this does impact them. This does have a big factor, and especially as those long Halo fans, this feels like a stab to their childhood, right? Or like one of the things that made them possibly love Halo is that experience that they had, and they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, The people, I don't understand that angle, or it's like, oh, why does it matter? Just play online. It's like you said, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't mean it's not important. And I agree with also what you were saying about how if you they had to have known at some point that like there's things that they have to cut, and if they were that adamant about this would always be a thing and they would have it in Halo Infinite, then yeah, that that's no bueno, man. You shouldn't have made that cut, or like you said, not have been super forward and strict about how like yes, this is not going anywhere. We're keeping this around. I did not think about some of the stuff that you mentioned, but again, it's like just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean people can't be bummed out or disappointed by it or upset. Like, what do you want? Like, there's a whole lot of different angles that people would have for it, and for stuff like, what if they just said like, "Oh, we're cutting Forge mode," and like someone like me who, yeah, I enjoy playing other games, but like I mentioned, I don't care about the creative aspect. I don't really go in there and try to mess around and make levels. What I said is like, well, who cares? Well, there'd be a lot of other people that do care. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just because you're getting the thing that you want doesn't mean you can't you need to be so dismissive of the other people that they're losing something that they wanted and we're hoping to have access to.
Yeah, and again, something that I did read on Twitter that I don't fully agree with, but I understand. Like, some people have been using the term like Halo infinitely disappointing because it just continues. Like, there are like things that have been disappointing to them, and what I'm hoping is similar to what you said is that like while Halo's launch has not been great and the preceding months from there have not been great, and as you said, and a lot of people have said, myself included, Halo probably should have gotten delayed to try to make this a more completed product before it came out. Hopefully, this is the point that gets it back on track and gets the game moving forward, because Halo, regardless if you're a PlayStation fan, an Xbox fan, a Nintendo fan, a PC fan, whatever it is, Halo is still a very important video game franchise for gamers. And so I think, at least for myself, who didn't play Halo growing up, I still would want to see Halo in a great light. I would still want to see Halo be what Halo was before, and it's not there right now. And so hopefully this is the step to get it there and get this thing back on track, because again, it is a disappointment for those that were really excited for it and just continue to feel like there's a disappointment around the corner with almost every Halo story that seems to be coming out as of late. But let's go to a different subsection of Xbox, and we're talking about Xbox Game Pass and Microsoft going to try to purchase Activision Blizzard. Well, going to Polygon for this article written by Austin Goslin, and it is Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Diablo will come to Game Pass, Xbox says. Again, something that Phil Spencer has already confirmed, but we're going to reconfirm it. And so here's the article. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard entered its second phase today, which this was written back yesterday on Thursday, which means facing the scrutiny of regulatory bodies from the EU and the UK, along with the United States Federal Trade Commission. While this is all expected, Microsoft also put out a statement on Thursday detailing its intentions for Activision Blizzard's biggest series, which include bringing some of those to Game Pass. In the statement, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer, said, "We intend to make Activision Blizzard's much-loved library of games, including Overwatch, Diablo, and Call of Duty, available on Game Pass, and to grow those gaming communities." The company also used this statement to reaffirm something it has said many times in the past, which is Call of Duty will continue to be released on PlayStation platforms. Microsoft says that it's committed to making the same version of Call of Duty available on PlayStation the same day the game launches elsewhere. To help support this claim, Microsoft mentions its purchase of developer Mojang back in 2014 and the fact that Minecraft remains available on numerous platforms and devices. While those massive franchises coming over to Game Pass seemed like the primary motivation for Microsoft to acquire Activision Blizzard in the first place, this is the first time that Microsoft has made its plans completely clear. Of course, before that can happen, the deal will have to be approved from regulatory bodies across the world, and there's a little bit of extra things, but not really important. So, Pete, I guess first off, how many times does Phil Spencer have to continue to reiterate that Call of Duty is going to be coming to PlayStation, that people will finally realize that? But two, part of this statement has come out because the EU regulatory bodies have expressed concerns about this purchase. Do you think that this statement helps with making this purchase not seem so bad?
So he's going to have to confirm it and reconfirm it and re-reconfirm it and re-reconfirm it and re-reconfirm it ad nauseum, because people are going to be concerned. They're going to want they're going to want to put his feet to the fire to make sure that things that are as popular as Call of Duty that were on multiple platforms are not just exclusive to Xbox going forward. That's just the reality of it. If he's getting tired, maybe he could just have like an instant email reply or something like that, or some kind of like program that fires off just like when they ask him for it. Yeah, a soundboard that just repeats the thing. Like maybe he can do that if he's really getting agitated about it. But if he thought that if this was going to upset him enough to where he was like didn't want to reply anymore, maybe don't make the acquisition in the first place. I don't know. It seems like it just seems like people are going to ask the same questions like that over and over again. They do it with a bunch of other business owners, politicians, athletes. I remember specifically one game earlier this year I was running for the Dodgers where they interviewed somebody who misplayed a catch and asked him the same question like in 5 or 6 different ways in a row, and the dude was just like, "Yeah, that happened. I dropped the ball. It was not cool. Not really happy about it." And you can see him progressively getting more and more frustrated as he was continuously asked the same question. So that's a thing that you're just going to have to deal with. As opposed to whether his comments are going to assuage the concerns of the EU, UK, and even the US's trading boards or whatever. I don't think it has any impact whatsoever. One of the things that the article brings up that I believe was brought up by some of the UK and EU people that I didn't even think about was, well, yeah, these things are going to be, these games might be available on all platforms, but if they can get access to the games on your system for $10 and they have to pay like $60 or whatever to get access on other games, is that really a thing saying like, well, it's actually available across the board? And it's like, well, because technically, yes, it is, but and obviously it wouldn't be for this game system. It wouldn't be a concern because people already have the game system that they have. But like for the next gen, like, hey, Call of Duty 7 is out or whatever on Xbox 720 or whatever number we're on, and for PlayStation 6 and whatever other game system is out there, and you can pay $70 to get it over here, or you can pay $10 to get it on our system. And it's like, well, what are most people going to do if they're going to drop $600 on a game system? They have to do that anyway. Like they're probably going to drop it on the Xbox. They really want to play the Game Pass version of Call of Duty. Maybe they make it more restrictive, or maybe they make it more restrictive or something like that. Or maybe they give more added benefits for if you buy a PlayStation and you decide to order it off of that way. But I mean, there's a legitimate concern, and I don't think his statements is saying like, well, yeah, we're going to have these constantly repeating that he's not going to have Call of Duty be restricted and only to Xbox and PC, presumably, because Microsoft probably doesn't care if you buy an Xbox or a PC as long as you have one of those. But yeah, like I said, I don't think that his statements aren't the problem. His statements aren't what the UK and these government bodies are looking at. They're looking at like, is this too much being owned by one company? And it doesn't matter what the owner says he's going to do or what the owner claims is not an issue. They're going to look at the facts and instances about whether they are concerned about this or not.
Yeah, I agree with you on that that last parts that you were saying. Like, I don't think, like, granted, right? These statements from Phil Spencer do help, at least in the sense of maybe clearing up some confusion that maybe the regulatory body has. But it doesn't, I think, clear up or make it where the regulatory body goes, oh, okay, like, since it's going to be everywhere, we'll just, like, move on, type of thing. It's exactly that, as you said. It's the fact of, like, does this purchase now put Microsoft in a section of the market that they will completely dominate it, in the sense, again, monopoly, that should not be allowed. And I think that's the tough part, because Game Pass is a great service. I mean, you have it. I subscribe to it every now and then. Like, right now I'm playing other games, so I don't want to spend the money on Game Pass. But like, I get it. It's a great service, and everyone that's listening to this and you haven't had Game Pass, I'm going to tell you, go get it, because it's a great service, But exactly as you said, if we're now looking at the next generation, there is, a huge advantage for Xbox. Granted, some people don't care, right? And they're Xbox, fans, and they're going to be like, yeah, of course, right? But from a government standpoint or regulatory standpoint, that becomes a slight concern, right? It's why, when games go on sale, yes, games go on sale regularly on other places, but it's not like when they launch, it's all of a sudden like, hey, this is $10 here, and over here it is $80. You're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, at launch, they should be roughly the same price, and it's like, then you go decide from there, what do you want to do? So that's the tough part, and I don't know what that means. And I also will say, just because we've seen it and we just kind of talked about it in a sense, not exactly, but in a sense in the last story, you can say something today and change your mind down the road, right? So Phil Spencer saying this now is exactly what you also said. Just because he says it now doesn't clear the air, because what does it mean a year from now when he's not under regulatory, consideration? Does that change? Does it change in 2 years? Does it change at the next generation of consoles? That's what they have to look at, and that's what they're concerned about. Now, granted, everywhere else, everyone that's saying this is that they think it will still go through. It still will happen. Likely at some point now it'll be in 2023, because it's taking longer than was originally anticipated. So there's a chance that none of this ends up stopping the whole merge or the purchase of it, but obviously, you got to think in the future, and you have to think about these things. And that's why you have the government looking over these things to make sure we don't have an oil, the Rockefeller, right? Rockefeller was the first person who had a monopoly in government. It's why the monopoly laws kind of came into place. I think that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Carnegie with steel, yeah. All them old good old boys, as you were.
Yeah, it's good old ones. All right. Well, let's talk about another game that I'm actually really looking forward to, and that's the Assassin's Creed saga. Even though I haven't beat the last one, or Valhalla yet. Why did I say the last one? The last two is what I meant to say. Assassin's Creed Mirage, though, is officially the next Assassin's Creed game. This is coming from PC Gamer, written by Tyler Wilde, and it is as follows. Details about a new Assassin's Creed game leaked in February when Bloomberg reported that Ubisoft was working on a smaller, stealth-focused Assassin's Creed game alongside its bigger Assassin's Creed Infinity project, which is likely an online game of some kind. The other day, though, another leaker purported to reveal that this second upcoming Assassin's Creed game will be called Assassin's Creed Mirage, and now we know that's true, as Ubisoft confirmed the leak today with an image posted to Twitter and a sentence that it's hard not to read without adding an exasperated sigh from the publisher. Assassin's Creed Mirage is the next Assassin's Creed game. They always leak, and this one happened just a week until Ubisoft Forward, where that event is going to be going on Saturday, September 10th, where we will get proper Assassin's Creed Mirage reveal, which is at that event. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier says his source isn't in complete agreement about the details in the latest leak, but can safely say the Assassin's Creed Mirage is set in Baghdad and stars Basim Ibn Ashak, or Loki, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. And it probably did start as Valhalla DC, as Schreier reported in February. What'd you say?
I said, yeah, there's... I feel bad. I felt bad reading that when I was reading the article. I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm not reading this one.
Yeah, I think it's Basim Ibn Ashik. I could be wrong. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. But anyways, I just want to kind of talk about your thoughts on it, Pete. I know you've talked about it before. You're not really an Assassin's Creed person, but how do you, I guess this is a huge franchise. Of course, a lot of people really enjoy it. It's why it's comes out all the time. So how excited are you to kind of see what at least this new entry will be like next week?
I'm really interested. Even though I haven't played any other Assassin's Creed games, doesn't mean I'm not likely to try a new one or something like that. Especially if it's kind of like a throwback, a stealthier game. Like maybe like that's something that would interest me a little more. Because I've been like, even though I play a lot of the same games like Genshin Impact and Magic, as we've repeatedly stated on this program, that also means that I like trying like something that's a little different. I don't want to play the same things all the time. Like when I was playing The Plague's Tale, that one of the biggest things that made me interested was it was a game that I hadn't really played a lot of, type of game I haven't really played a lot of, rather. I actually downloaded Coffee Talk on uh, Game Pass, and I had not played that yet, but that was another one where I was just like, oh, this is a little different. I want to give it a little bit of a try, even if I don't end up liking it. So I'm actually really interested in it. I don't know if you actually read the tweet from Assassin's Creed. The article called it it's hard to read it without adding an exasperated sigh. And it does reading it. It was just kind of like Assassin's Creed Mirage is the next Assassin's Creed game. We can't wait to tell you more on September 10th at Ubisoft's Forward at 9 p.m., 12 p.m. Da 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 da. It was kind of funny just reading that. There's yeah, you caught us.
No emotion in it or anything. Yeah, it's literally
like, yeah, you caught us. No, emoji, no exclamation point, nothing. It's like, all right, you got us. Here it is.
Yeah.
One of the things that made me laugh about reading the article too was the guy saying like the article, the author saying like, well, it's supposed to be a stealth game, but how are they not seeing this dude that's in the middle of the air? Which apparently tells me he doesn't watch a lot of anime, because if he would know Naruto is a ninja and wears frickin' orange jumpsuit, which is not very helpful for hiding when you're a ninja either. But that's always my complaint about. It was always a joke between me and my friends about this Naruto series. But yeah, I'm super excited. I know a lot of people are big fans of the series, so I hope it's another great game for the franchise.
Yeah, I'm excited for what you said. It's a throwback. I love the old Assassin's Creed. Now, granted, I still really liked Assassin's Creed Origins. I liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey of what I played. Again, I haven't beat that one. And I do like the setting of Valhalla and what they've shown off. I just haven't dove into that one yet. But I really, really love the old Assassin's Creed games where each mission you really needed to try to tackle it stealthily. Now, you could go in there, combat blazing and just use the counter system, but it really allowed you to feel like an assassin. You snuck into the place, you tried to get down and take out your target and get out and escape without the guards, getting you and capturing you. So if it's something back to that, I would be really excited, because that's something I've been really wanting for a while. So I'm looking forward to it, and one of my favorite Assassin's Creed, of course, is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, as I talk about it, excuse me, Assassin's Creed Revelations, which is the one after Brotherhood, and I really liked it for the simple fact of getting to see Altair, the first Assassin's Creed main character, and Ezio, and how they intermix in a way. And this, in a sense, kind of reminds me going back to Altair, of course, with Assassin's Creed, the first one, because it takes place in Egypt, if I remember correctly. So, I would really like to see them hopefully have some, throws towards Altair and the influence that he brings to the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. So, we'll see. But we'll find out next week, because we only have to wait till September 10th for that to go down. Let's go talk about some purchases going on. And we have this article coming from Games Radar, coming from Ali Jones. And it is Sony and Tencent acquire an increased share in Elden Ring developer FromSoftware. Sony and Chinese publishing giant Tencent are both set to increase their stake in Elden Ring and Dark Souls developer FromSoftware. In an announcement this morning, which this was written 3 days ago, of course, FromSoft parent company Kadokawa Corporation, which remains the majority owner of the developer, confirmed that Sony now owns 14.09% of FromSoftware, and Tencent, arguably best known for buying a ton of companies, including League of Legends developer Riot Games, now owns 16.25% of the company. Kadokawa Corporation says the aim of the sale is to, quote, proactively invest in the development of more powerful game to strengthen FromSoftware's development capabilities. It also mentioned Tencent strengthened its capabilities to develop and deploy mobile games and other network technologies in the global market, implying that FromSoft could be looking to expand into mobile gaming in some capacity. Whilst none of the companies involved in the sale have mentioned specific plans, fans of their own wish list on hand, where Bloodborne began trending on Twitter as a desire for a Bloodborne sequel continues to grow, or a Bloodborne update or PC ports, as a lot of people look forward to. Beyond that, attention is likely to turn towards Elden Ring, where hopes for an upcoming Elden Ring DLC. FromSoftware and publisher Bandai Namco have discussed their desire for the title to act as the start of a new franchise. While the future of Elden Ring seems in a better space than its more gothic older brothers, it's far from clear as this point of what they can expect from the deal, and Kadokawa Corporation suggests that the deal impact on its 2023 financial results is likely to be minor. So Pete, what do you think about it?
Same as any other companies being bought up. I guess it's not really being bought up in this case. It's just a couple of companies acquiring more of the stock when involved. At this point, it's not like a thing where I'm just like, oh man, now FromSoftware is like dedicated to only one company. At least this one is just a little bit more stock buildup. So hopefully, this FromSoftware just keeps making more great games, keeps making more games a lot of people like. Elden Ring, they did the Soul series, correct? If I'm not mistaken, Bloodborne, and I mean, the positive for the acquisition from the aspect of the smaller company, right, is always they get more material, they get more opportunities to possibly increase their development, increase their staff, get better software, better programming, that kind of stuff. Just more stuff to be able to do more things that they want to do. And FromSoft has used a lot of their expertise and to be able to get in there and make great games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring. So, I'm kind of hesitant. It is Sony, it is Tencent. Both are big giant companies, especially Tencent. They own a lot of the gaming world at this point. One of the things that was interesting was brought up that maybe that they're looking at possibly going into mobile gaming. The implication for that. So that I'm kind of like interested in, because like we were saying, like I was saying, they're a company more focused on the Souls style games. They created that genre like Elden Ring and stuff. So I'm like, well, what can you do with a mobile game that might be something like that, or just it's something completely different? Maybe they have some other plan that they want to do. So, I'm more hopeful about this than, flat out buying companies in general. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so for this one, first off, I want to just say I already know what FromSoftware will do for mobile gaming. Obviously, I'm joking, but this is more like speculation. Armored Core. They could bring Armored Core back in a mobile game format. I could see that working out.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
I could see that working out from it. But I know a lot of people wouldn't be happy because they would just be like, I want a console version. And maybe there is a console. Maybe it's just a mobile component to it. But I will say I don't like, yes, technically, yes, it is ownership because obviously it is said there, it's a stake in the company. But I see this more as like investment. And of course, they just like obviously bringing that out of it because Kadokawa Games still owns them. Still, Kadokawa Games is a third-party aspect. Yes, there is going to possibly be some future things that maybe goes towards PlayStation first, or maybe they are going to partner for an upcoming game like they did with Bloodborne. All those things can happen, but Sony did already have some investments in FromSoftware, and I do think, I could be wrong, so if I am wrong, please send that in over at pressstartnews.net/onemoregame. I think Xbox, or Microsoft, I should say, also has a slight investment into FromSoftware, but I could be wrong in that aspect. So I'm not like too upset by this. It is more so just surprising, I guess, that as we talked, you kind of said that Tencent increased their stock into it too, and the mobile game aspect, because it is like you said. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what is Tencent just doing it for investment purposes? Because obviously they'll get some of the money being a partial owner, or are they doing it because they are looking to have FromSoft try to develop something for a mobile game? And we'll see, of course, what that means here in the coming months and years from this, because we don't know exactly when we might see what comes out of this. Real quickly, before we kind of get towards the end of our show, it's due to time, we're going to talk about the Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family Plan, which has been officially announced. This is coming from Video Games Chronicle, written by Chris Scullion, and it goes as follows. Microsoft has officially confirmed the Xbox Game Pass Family Plan it's been testing for the past month. As uncovered via a leaked image a few days ago, the new subscription tier is called Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family. At the moment, it's still only available to players in Ireland and Colombia, but now it's available to all players in those countries instead of just those who are part of the Insider program. Xbox has yet to confirm when the new tiers will roll out to other regions, but according to a new FAQ about the service, basically you can share the subscription with up to 4 other players, so 5 players in total. The 4 other players have to live in the same country, but otherwise they will receive the full Xbox Game Pass Ultimate treatment, which includes Xbox Live Gold, the entire Game Pass library on Xbox and PC, EA Play, perks, and discounts. With the Friends and Family Plan, all 5 members can enjoy the great benefits of Game Pass Ultimate with their own unique access to all Xbox Game Pass Ultimate games, content, benefits, regardless of what device they're playing on, and all the people you can invite can play at the same time. You can even play together in the same game. Plus, you can include friends and family outside of your household. Now, here's the most important part, or the part that a lot of people are wondering, is in Ireland and in the in Ireland specifically, I should say, the cost is 21.99 euros. However, when that's calculated to the US, that's going to be roughly $24.99 per month. So obviously, if you have 5 people, that's $5 a month. There's other things that are going on with this, but I got to talk with you, Pete. What do you think about this plan?
I think it's awesome. I know we just talked about Phil Spencer and Game Pass possibly like maybe alluding to like something not really a monopoly, but something maybe we don't want to have happening. But I mean, like, this is great for the consumer, especially like if you got some buddies, even just one friend. I think that gets you technically if you and your one friend split the cost, is still less than what would normally be like a Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and that gets you the same thing if you and one other person are both involved. And if you get the full 5, the full boat, the full Monty, then it's just like $5 a pop, $5-6 a pop, and that's charged to one person. It'll have to be on one person's name, and they Venmo them the $5 or whatever. But I mean, like, that sounds great. Like, if you get 4 or 5 of your buddies, but I'm surprised that even at just like one friend, they made it a price where it was like, technically it's a little bit cheaper if you do that. I was surprised they went that route. So it's really interesting, really good for the consumer. I don't think you were really able to share, like, you couldn't do it like you used to be able to do with Netflix. I don't know if you could still do it, where you just like share your logins. Were you able to do that? I'm not 100% positive. Would you?
Well, I think you would be able to share it, but you wouldn't, obviously, like, I wouldn't be able to watch it like you could, right? So with Netflix, right, you can share accounts, but you can have multiple people watching at the same time. I think it's like 2 at a time or whatever. If you shared your account with me and I tried to log in and play, and you decided to try to log in and play at the same time, it would boot me from the game because only one person can be logged into your account,
Yeah, and this theoretically would let all 5 people play at the same time. Like, maybe y'all hop in and play Halo Infinite. I don't know. Like, you just want to do like some kind of like team thing or something like that. But like, theoretically, everybody on this account would be able to play at the same time. So yeah, I'm like, this seems great for the consumer.
Yeah, I find this really awesome. Of course, the price point I think is really great, as I did raise when this first leaked a few weeks ago towards the podcast when Sharif was in there. I don't know if this necessarily means it's going to always be this price. They could do exactly what they did with Game Pass before, which is like they launched it at a really great price to start with and then increased it a little bit later on. So I could see that happening, but I think that this is awesome, and obviously take full advantage of the situation while you're at it. Real quick, before we go to our next topic, I just want to reference a comment that we did have here in the podcast coming from Mike, which, Mike, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And it comes from something that I said, and maybe I just misspoke. He said, you didn't consider people who live together that might want to play co-op, so boyfriend, girlfriend, little kids, parents, kids, friends, needing to read a tweet to grasp that is really, really sad. I wasn't saying that I didn't comprehend those things. I was saying that the tweet helped with me realizing those things. Because for myself, I always play with games with my wife, right? But I didn't play Halo. I don't, as I made mention, I don't play with Halo. So for me, when I first saw the announcement, I think it sucks. I always think any kind of feature that gets cut, it sucks. But it didn't put it into perspective right at that moment. So seeing the tweet made me go, yeah, that actually is a really good idea or a good thought process. Because again, there's a lot of people who were saying, who cares? So that's what I was mostly referencing. I wasn't saying that the tweet itself was the thing that made me realize it. It just helped with realizing it. So anyway, want to go to the last thing real quick before we got to get to our upcoming games, and it's more so just a shout out against, as I mentioned last week, the Wild Arms and Shadowhearts creators were launching a Kickstarter to try to bring together these spiritual successors of Wild Arms and Shadowhearts in Armed Fantasia and Penny Blood, respectively. And in the first 24 hours, they reached their goal, hitting the $750,000 minimum, which means the games are going to be coming. And since then, have hit a couple of other goals, which one of them was, as they labeled it, I think it was. They originally teased it as we have the technology, but they reached the $1 million threshold, which means that the games are coming to console. And the way that they've described it is it's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, but then it's coming to next gen Nintendo, if there is a new Nintendo that comes out by the time this game comes out. And that's kind of how they've labeled it. There is a chance maybe it is Nintendo Switch, maybe it is a next gen Nintendo, but it all comes down to whatever the technology is. They'll try to see what they can do with it, if they can make it and not. But that obviously, hopefully, gets all figured out. But I just want to say congrats to them because, of course, as we mentioned before, they tried to take this plan to various developers and publishers ahead of time, and no one bit on it. And this kind of shows that, of course, there are still a lot of people who love these games and want to have them out. And so I'm happy to see it happen. And so, Pete, I know that, again, you said last week you never even heard of Shadowhearts, but you did, of course, know about Wild Arms. So, I guess, what is your thoughts about them reaching their goal so quickly?
It's really cool. I mean, it's pretty apparent that they're a very popular franchise and they have a lot of fans, and those fans want to see even spiritual successors. The fact that they've already got $1,125,000 and more than that at this point. The official number right now, according to the website, is 1,125,477 is what they've raised so far. I mean, it just shows you how many people want to see this done. I mean, they got another 27 days to go before the project is closed for funding. So, hopefully they get more stretch goals. Hopefully they get to do everything that the company wants to do. And I hope we get to see some sweet games out of it, because video gaming is fun. But I got a question, Jeremy. When do you think we're going to get these spiritual successors?
Well, according to their listing on Kickstarter, they're saying estimated March 2025. So it's going to be quite a bit of time away. But if you want to buy a new game sometime this next week, I will tell you about what's all coming out. And it starts with today, Friday, September 2nd. We have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All-Star Battle R for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Lego Brawls for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Made in Abyss, Binary Star Falling into Darkness for PS4, Switch, and PC. The Last of Us Part 1 for PS5. On Tuesday, September 6th, you have Rocksmith Plus for PC, Disney Dreamlight Valley for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. That is on Game Pass. Circus Electric Electrique, excuse me, PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Biomutant for PS5 and Xbox Series. Temtem for PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. The Tomorrow's Children's Phoenix Edition, PS5 and PS4. Wednesday, September 7th, we have Kaichu, the Kaiju Dating Sim for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. 9 Noir Lives for PC. Thursday, September 8th, we have BPM Bullets Per Minute for Switch. Tower Princess for PS4, Switch, and PC. Justice Sucks for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. White Day, A Labyrinth Named School, PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch. Blockum for PC. Hyperviolent for PC. Road Warden for PC. Rift Sweepers for PC. Jack Move for PC. Steel Rising for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. If you pick that one up, look in the credits. You might notice somebody there listed. Friday, September 9th, we have Betrayal at Club Low for PC. Broken Pieces for PC. NBA 2K23 for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. And Splatoon 3 for Switch. Pete, any of these catching your attention?
So outside of the big ones, The Last of Us Part 1 remake, NBA 2K23, Splatoon 3, there's a lot of other ones that I was kind of like looking at. Tower Princess and Jack Move, I've already downloaded the demos from off of Steam. I wanted to give those a try. The trailers looked really interesting. I was really hope those are going to be fun games. So I'm looking forward to that. And I don't think I'm ever going to buy this one, but this one seemed really interesting to me. I'm really wondering how it's going to work, and I hope it works like pretty well. This might be a complete change. Rocksmith Plus, because apparently from what it looked like it was supposed to be like a video game that helps, unlike the Guitar Heroes and Rock Bands that we're used to, where you just have the controller that's a guitar. This one seems like it's supposed to help you practice and learn how to actually play the guitar.
It is.
So I'm interested in how that works, and I'm really hoping that it's actually a positive thing, because that could be really helpful for people that want to learn how to play like any instrument, theoretically, the guitar especially in this case, if it's as helpful as it ends up being. So that one, when I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm never going to probably buy this one. I don't have any real interest in learning how to play the guitar, but I'm really interested and fascinated how this actually will work, and I hope it does.
So I've never played Rocksmith, but I have seen people, of course, talk about it online. So Rocksmith Plus, for those that don't know, this is like the newest iteration of it, and it's going to be basically an online service kind of moving forward. So the idea, I think, is that basically instead of releasing annual games, they'll release just like updates and songs to this Rocksmith Plus that you can subscribe to. But it's been around for a number of years, and I do know like someone who did pick up Rocksmith Plus. Now, granted, they kind of knew how to play the guitar, just not very well, and they did say it helped them become better at the guitar. And I think also as someone that you and I, of course, watch and like, Xavier Woods or Austin Creed used to stream at times himself playing one of the older Rocksmiths. So I think like he also either improved from learning for the guitar through it, or maybe he learned how to play the guitar through it. I don't remember exactly from it, but yeah. So I hope that one ends up being pretty good. And as you said, besides some of the big ones, the only ones that kind of jump out to me is just want to call out BPM, because it is a great game. It's on like basically every console now, but Switch, of course, will be the newest one, so hopefully it runs really well there. And Steel Rising, again, I may have made a slight comment, but I played Steel Rising. I don't think I'll be in trouble for saying this, but like I played in the testing phases of it for a while, so like I'm not going to reveal anything about the game, but like I played it and I enjoyed it. So I hope that, of course, those that get a chance now to play it will enjoy it as well. So yeah, that's the only other one there.
You got those NDAs, man. You don't want to get burned by them NDAs. I'm just telling you.
I didn't reveal anything. The game's about to come out, but it's just I did play in those, so hopefully it turns out to be pretty good. But anyway, everybody, I hope that you guys enjoyed this podcast. Pete, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Stay cool, everybody that's going to be warm, which is probably going to be most of the country, because it is late summer. It's super hot here, as I mentioned, but I mean, like, even I've lived in the Midwest, man. I know it might be 85, but that humidity, man, that'll get you. I've seen they had the Dodgers were playing the Mets, and like they were dripping sweat almost the moment they walked out into the field. And it was like this, not even the second inning yet, and they were just like covered in like their hats were like drenched and stuff. It's like, well, geez, can't imagine what it's like over there. It's like different kinds of heat, but it's all hot. So
Yeah.
just stay cool, stay hydrated, stay
Yeah.
quench your thirst.
Quench your thirst as the thirst quencher tells you they do. So everybody, that is it for here at the One More Game podcast. I've been one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, aka Darcy. This is the California Thirst Quencher, Pete Leja, and we really enjoy bringing this to you. And as always, everybody, stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep on gaming. We'll see you guys on the next episode.